Like, subscribe, comment, and share if you dare, because the shadows have secrets to tell. It started with a scream, sharp, piercing, slicing through the cold night air like a knife. The kind of scream that awakens something ancient, something hungry. It came from the dense forest on the edge of the small town of Hollows Creek, a place whispered about but never visited after dusk. No one ever spoke openly about the shadows there, but every so often, someone would vanish. And then the whispers began. According to legend, the forest was cursed centuries ago. An old witch named Morwenna, betrayed and burned by the fearful townsfolk, had vowed revenge. They say her spirit didn't die with her body but twisted into the very darkness itself, the whispering shadows. Those shadows creep along the trees, murmuring in voices only half heard, luring the lost deeper into the forest where the light dies. On the night the scream shattered the silence, a group of friends, Jake, Lena, Mark, and Sarah, decided to test the truth of the legend. They were young, curious, and daring, dismissing the old tales as mere superstition. With only flashlights and nervous laughs, they stepped into the forest's edge, unaware they were walking into a nightmare. The deeper they went, the thicker the silence became, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. The beam of their flashlights barely cut through the thick canopy overhead, and strange shapes seemed to flicker just beyond sight. The shadows were no longer shadows. They were alive. Jake was the first to hear its soft whispers weaving around them like silk threads, calling names, telling secrets. Lena stopped cold, eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, clutching her flashlight tighter. But Mark laughed it off, confident it was just the wind playing tricks. Suddenly, Sarah vanished. One moment she was there, the next she was gone. No scream, no struggle, just swallowed by the dark. Panic rose like a tide as the friends called for her, their voices cracking. But the forest answered only with whispers growing louder, sinister and coaxing. Desperate, they followed the whispers, hoping to find Sarah, but each step seemed to take them deeper into a maze with no exit. The shadows stretched and morphed, forming shapes that resembled faces, twisted, anguished, forever trapped. They whispered promises and threats, urging the group to give in to the darkness. Lena's flashlight flickered and died, plunging her into utter blackness. Her breath came fast, and the cold pressed against her skin. She felt a cold touch, a brush against her arm, but no one was there. Then, a voice low and ancient whispered in her ear, "Stay with us." She ran, heart hammering, back toward the faint glow she hoped was the way out. But the forest was changing, paths twisting impossibly. Behind her, the whispers chased, growing into anguished cries. Jake and Mark fought to keep their fear in check, but as time passed, the shadows began to seep into their minds, planting doubts and fears. Arguments broke out, the group fracturing as paranoia set in. According to old accounts, those who listened too closely to the whispering shadows begin to lose themselves, their wills consumed until they become part of the darkness, lost forever. Hours passed like days. The moon slipped behind thick clouds. Then, from the corner of Jake's eye, a figure appeared, tall, cloaked in darkness but with eyes glowing faintly red. It beckoned silently, a smile curving on lips too sharp to be human. Jake stepped forward, drawn in despite his terror. The figure whispered promises of safety, of secrets revealed. But Mark grabbed him, shouting for him to run. The figure vanished, leaving behind only the chilling echo of laughter. One by one, the group succumbed. Lena disappeared into the shadows after stepping into a shimmering mist. Mark was found days later on the forest edge, eyes wild, unable to speak, his mind fractured. Jake was never seen again. But the story does not end with the loss of four friends. Because the shadows do not rest. They wait, always listening, always whispering. In the small town of Hollows Creek, some nights you can hear them, the whispering shadows carrying the voices of the lost, promising you will never walk alone once you hear them. Quoted from true experiences of locals who lived to tell their tale. As the night deepens, remember the whispering shadows are never far. Like, subscribe, comment, and share if you want more chilling tales.